Welcome to Thank You for Your Service. My name is Tom Heiser and I'll be your host. Today we will be talking with Roxanne Herman, who is a military veteran of the National Guard. Roxanne, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Okay, getting to know you a little bit. Where are you from, Roxanne?
I'm originally from Park Falls, Wisconsin.
Okay, and go to school over there?
Yes, I graduated in 1996.
Okay, Park Falls. Did you go to college after high school?
Yes, I did. I went to Midstate in Wisconsin Rapids and Midstate in Marshfield.
Okay, so being from Park Falls, why Midstate? Did you move to the central Wisconsin area, or?
Yes, after I joined the military when I was out of basic training, I moved back to Wisconsin Rapids.
Okay, so National Guard. Why the National Guard?
I was a little nervous to go active duty, so I decided to try the National Guard, and I wanted to go to college while I was serving my country.
Okay. Were there any other members of your family that were in the military?
Yes, my cousin Sam.
Okay. Was that cousin an influence on you joining that?
Yes, when I was in high school, he was over in Saudi Arabia, and I would always send him care packages and shaving cream and beef jerky and batteries and all sorts of stuff, and he would send me letters and pictures of everything that he was doing over there.
Okay, so you provided the care packages, and those were quite important to Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Sam was your influence in going in, and you wanted to serve in the military, but you said you were a little bit nervous about active.
Mm-hmm. So I knew I really wanted to go into the military. A lot of my friends were going into four-year universities. I knew I didn't want to do a four-year university. I knew I didn't want to do active duty, full active duty. So I decided I'll do the Army National Guard, which is half active basically, and then some college. So on my 17th birthday, I had the Army recruiter come to my house, and my parents signed my papers for me. The Army recruiter came from Tomahawk and signed my papers with me, because you have to be 18 by yourself or 17 with the parents' permission.
So your parents were pretty pro-military as well. Okay, when you decided to enlist at 17, you would start basic at 8 after high school. Any of your other friends decide to go in with you at the same time, or?
No.
So when you went in alone. So did you have to go down to Milwaukee for the physical and everything?
Yes, I went to MEPS in Milwaukee. I got to start, because it was a National Guard, I got to start drilling right away. My parents wouldn't let me go to Madison. They didn't want their 17-year-old daughter driving to Madison by herself. So I got to go to Tomahawk, to a heavy equipment operator guard unit over there. That was a lot of fun. There I got to learn and got my driver's license for a deuce and a half, Hemet, 5-ton dump truck. Even had to take a class in a chainsaw and a generator. So I got my certifications and all those before I even went to basic training. That was the full year beforehand. I graduated in May, and I left for basic training in July to Fort McClellan, Alabama. When I got to Fort McClellan, Alabama, I stayed there for my advanced individual training. I chose to do the military police training. That was 14 weeks. Stayed there. It was really hot in July in Alabama. It was almost 100 degrees every day.
Okay, so you go to basic training. Is it an all-female unit, or is it male and female?
It was male and female. The barracks were on different levels. So the females, we all stayed in one barracks, but there was like 4 levels, so we were all in one area. And then the males were like in second, third, and fourth bays, and we were like in one bay together. But we did everything together. The only thing that was different was the PT standards were different for the amount of sit-ups and push-ups that you had to do, but otherwise we did all the training together.
So running the mile, you're out there with the guys.
Yes.
And carrying the backpack.
Yep.
With the guys. So you weren't given pink backpacks that were very, very light.
No, no. One funny story, we had a new drill sergeant that was not familiar with Fort McCullen, and we had to do our 10 or 12 mile road march, and he was new, and we ended up getting lost. So our 10 or 12 miles ended up being like 14 or 15 miles.
So you go to basic, and now you're into a whole new realm of Little Bitty Tomahawk and Park Falls. Now you got people from everywhere. Culture shock?
It was actually a lot of fun. I met people from California, and it was fun to hear people about learning how to surf and learning from big cities and different kinds of music and culture and food. Food was actually the funnest part, because they didn't know what a cheese curd was, they didn't know what a brat was, I didn't know what brisket was, or different types of desserts or drinks from the West Coast or the East Coast. It was an eye-opener, just from culture, just from the military lifestyle itself, from the culture, from everybody coming together. But everybody was in the same experience, because a lot of people didn't have friends that went with them either.
Okay, so you signed up at 17, you go in at 18. Was that like the delayed enlistment program, or were you had reached a rank already, or not really?
When I had gone, I was in E2 already when I had went into basic training.
So you actually outranked some of the people as a 2. And they said it's culture shock. It's growing up time too, isn't it?
Oh yes, it was a lot of fun. The most stuff I learned was self-respect, discipline. It was just amazing to see how much I didn't know. At that age, you think you know everything, and when you get there, you don't realize how much you don't know.
Okay, do you remember any of your drill sergeants besides the guy that got lost?
Yes, they were all actually, when you first get there, you're supposed to be scared of all of them, but towards the end, they were all pretty friendly. You learn which ones you can kind of get away with stuff with. The one time I was about 15 minutes late coming back, and I told everybody, we're going to get in trouble no matter what, let's go get a large pizza. And they looked at me like, what? So we ended up getting a large pizza, and it was that drill sergeant's particular favorite type of pizza, and he was on duty that night, and he was ecstatic that we brought him back his pizza. So he let us just go upstairs. He said, just go upstairs. So, I mean, they're just people too, but they have to train you, they have to prepare you, they have to rebuild you into a soldier, so.
Okay, being National Guard, and you're going through basic. Not all people in basic are National Guard. Some are regular Army, and some were. So were you treated any different being National Guard compared to the regular Army guys?
No, the only thing that was different is towards the end, after AIT was over, the people that were in active duty got their assignments of where they were going, if they were going to Germany or if they were being stationed stateside. They got to pick on a list of like 1 through 3 where they would like to be stationed at, and then they got their station assignments.
Okay, so AIT, what was your job?
Military police officer, but we had to learn combat as well as garrison. So the combat part was doing convoy security, learning how to capture and search POWs. And the garrison is more of just, it's like being a military police officer on bases and stuff, pulling people over, giving them traffic tickets, going to domestic abuse situations on base.
So the term garrison, for people that aren't familiar, is a base unit.
Yes, it would be like being a regular police officer in a city or a town would be like garrison police officer.
Okay. Do you recall roughly how long your training was for that?
About 14 weeks.
Okay. So being military police, and with my background, when you got out of the military, could you then go to a police department because you had gone through the training, the military training?
I could. In certain states you can. I know in Texas you can. In Wisconsin you still have to have a 2-year associate's degree in police science.
But you did have a good basic understanding
Yes.
of that. So now you're done with AIT. Fort McClellan, correct? Where were you stationed? Where was your first duty station after AIT?
It was Madison, Wisconsin, with the 32nd Military Police Company.
Okay, so you would meet in Madison, that's where your unit was stationed.
Yes.
So for your training, where would you go for that training in Madison? Do you guys work at Truax at all, or the Air Force Base, or?
Well, no, what we would do is we would meet on Wright Street down there. We would meet, we would have vehicle checks, safety checks. We would go to people's farms, actually, because we were a combat unit, we weren't garrison. So we would do convoy securities. We would learn how to strategically place like the Humvees and stuff for following special security for particular certain people. We had to go to Fort McCoy 2 weeks a year for training to get requalified in all of our weapons. We got to go to South Dakota 2 or 3 years in a row for training. We also got to go, we were a joint unit with Milwaukee, so we'd have to go to Milwaukee for other training there as well. We also got to go to Lambeau Field for the Packers when they won the Super Bowl for additional security. So while we were there, we got to go on the field, and we got to go through the entire Lambeau Field area. We got to go through the locker room. We got to meet Chris Jackie. We got to get our pictures taken with them. The locker room was very different than what it is now. We also got to go to Oshkosh, I think it is, the prison over there. Some of the security guards were going to go on strike, so we had to go in and learn their duties to take over their positions until the union got their positions under control. So we had to go in and learn their job roles to take over.
So you were pretty active for being in the National Guard. You went a lot of different places,
Mm-hmm.
got to see a lot of different things. Okay, that situation in Oshkosh where you would be taking over the Guard's duties never came to volition.
No, but we went for like 4 days straight just to learn some of their basic skills and how to run like the control boards and open and close the doors and how to feed the inmates and go through that kind of stuff.
Okay, so you think you would have been, that'd be an interesting being in a prison.
Mm-hmm. It was very interesting.
To say the least. Okay, you said you spent 6 years in the military. So majority of that time was down in Madison?
Correct.
Were you guys ever put on like a standby because of unrest or anything by the governor, or because of storms in the state or anything like that?
No.
But that could have been part of your...
Yep.
So your hierarchy actually starts with the governor, being National Guard as a state organization.
Yep.
Security for the Super Bowl victors. That was quite cold, wasn't it?
Yes.
Just inside Lambeau, or were you guys outside on the street as well?
We're inside and outside.
So interesting duty, so to say.
Yes, it was actually quite fun. That was a perk.
Okay, you said you went out to the Dakotas. What were you training when you were doing out there?
In the Dakotas, we were up in like the Sioux Falls area. We were up in the hills, and we were digging foxholes and doing combat stuff. We were going down doing security on side roads, and we were also qualifying on our weapons again out there. And we had some like co-missions with other military, not military police units, but other units in the area.
So you still did a lot of your training out at McCoy.
Yes. And we did a lot of training with the 132nd Medic Back. And because they had to have so many flight hours, and we're like a co-training unit, we also got to go for a lot of rides in their Hueys and Blackhawks with them.
Interesting. Interesting duty.
Yeah.
So, what ranks did you make when you were in that service?
I made it to specialist. Being in the National Guard, there's only so many positions that you can go to, and you can only go up so high before someone retires or moves. And so there's only so many sergeants and there's not very much room for advancement.
So, being a specialist, you would be comparable to a corporal. Even though you only allowed so many corporals, that's why they made so many specialists.
Yep.
Okay. People in the unit, remember a lot of them?
Yes.
Stay in touch with them?
On Facebook, there's quite a few.
Okay. Awards and citations. Did you receive any through the National Guard as far as for your service?
The Army, I have like the Conduct Medal, the Achievement Medal. I think it's just those two. I almost qualified for Expert for the 9mm. Just those two, I think.
Okay. So qualifying, you mentioned that you'd have to qualify with a handgun and a rifle and a shotgun, or just the handgun?
We had to qualify with the 9mm, the M16, the M203 grenade launcher, the 50 cal, and the, what else is there? Oh, yes, with all those. So it wasn't just one or two, it was quite a few.
So it's not just walking the beat, so to say, is it?
No, we spent many days at the range.
Drug training too? Drug interdiction type of training?
No. No.
Okay. When you got out, how do you feel that your military experience and your military training has helped you in civilian life?
It brings me to a whole different respect for people and just the way people carry themselves. You can tell if people have been in the military or not just by how people talk. It makes you respect people. Just respect for the military, the flag, how you, mostly how you treat people.
So would you recommend military service to young people?
Yes. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
And what would you recommend to the young people to go into military? Why should they go?
A self-respect, dedication, perseverance, a sense of pride, just to know that you can get through it, that you can accomplish it. Just being able to, main thing is being able that you can do it. Everybody's so scared that you're not going to be able to do it and there's no way, but you'd be surprised how many veterans that there actually are walking around, that people that don't even say that they're a veteran.
Sad, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. There's lots of them.
Okay. Since you got out, have you taken advantage of the GI Bill at all? Or did the National Guard not qualify for that? Or?
I did for a year, but with the National Guard, you have to use the GI Bill while you're currently drilling. So once my 6 years was done, then I could no longer use the GI Bill at that time. I don't know if it's changed since then, but.
So what did you go to school for that year?
I went to school for Surge Tech and EMT Basic.
Okay. When you got out, were you married or?
No.
So, but you're in the Rapids area?
Yep.
Because you went to school here?
It was like one of the local tech schools. There weren't many tech schools up in Park Falls area, so that was like one of the closest ones between Wausau and Rapids. And Rapids was a smaller town.
Okay. And what was your major at Midstate?
My first major was paramedic medicine, and then it was nursing.
So you got a double
I have 3 associate's
3
degrees.
associate degrees, okay. You belong to any veterans organizations?
Yes, the American Legion out of Rudolph, and then I also go to, I was at Post 9, I was their adjutant, and then I went to the American Legion in Rudolph, and then I also go to the one on Wednesday mornings now, the Heroes Cafe.
Okay. When you say adjutant, for people that aren't familiar with the hierarchy of these organizations, what exactly does an adjutant do?
It's basically a really good secretary that you have to write down what everybody says, take notes, and who says what, and write it down, and the dates. And then you type it all up, and then you have copies, a hard copy that they can go back and look at for whatever is said. So you have a paper copy and then like a hard copy on a computer.
So the secretary of the organization. And that's what you do in Rudolph now?
No, I did that for Post 9 in Rapids.
Okay, so do you hold any positions in Rudolph?
No, not at this time.
Not at this time. There must be an election coming up pretty soon. Okay. You and I have known each other for a while, and you and your husband own a business here in Wisconsin Rapids.
Yes.
Can you tell us what business you guys?
My husband and I currently own Herman Taylor Funeral Home as well as Pets Honored Cremation Center.
Okay. Interesting field.
Yes.
And your husband is licensed in many different aspects of that business, as you are. You also do a lot for the veterans. Your business does an awful lot for the veterans. Can you explain some of the things that your business is involved in with the veteran community?
We started out, it was supposed to be a one-time deal with the sweaters for veterans, and it ended up being such a big thing that we do it every year, and it was supposed to be just for 2 weeks every November, and it got to be so big and so popular that we do it, we don't even advertise it anymore because it just comes all the time, that we do the sweaters for veterans, and we take truckloads of clothes year-round now down to the homeless veterans and the veterans at King. And we have a couple people that take down several loads for them. We also do the Valentines for veterans. We have local schools and Girl Scout organizations. Anybody that wants to can make Valentines for the veterans, and we deliver them to King for all the veterans down there. We also do, we try to, for every funeral, we try to get the active duty members to come and do the flag folding for them. That's sponsored through a grant through Wisconsin. So we always say we might as well utilize them. It's just something very special for families to be able to see those active duty personnel in the uniforms, to be able to fold that flag and present it to the family. It's just something I think is very special. We also been working with Ben, having everybody bring in their flags that they don't use anymore, whether they be tattered or faded. And then with every cremation that we do for a veteran, we place a folded flag in with that person. They're not the flags that are given to people when they pass away. They're not the memorial flags. They're just the flags that people hang outside their homes or that are on flagpoles. And then we present each veteran with a plaque stating that they were given a flag.
So you mentioned Ben. That would be Ben Holberg from
Yes.
New Liberty.
Yes.
Okay. That's an awful lot of things that you guys do. I mean, this is year-round. You're involved in the Firefighters Memorial. I know
Yes.
I've seen you guys there. Veterans Day activities, Memorial Day activities, and now you're mentioning year-round with the sweaters program. But that's not just sweaters.
No, we take clothes, blankets, because we bring it to they bring it to the homeless veterans first, and then they pick, and then what's left over they take to King for everybody to go through. So it's T-shirts and sweatshirts, and the only thing they don't take is like socks and underwear. But we also donate for the wreaths for veterans. We also help that with that program with Ron McSherry.
Now,
Or Ray, sorry.
Ray Michelle, okay. If somebody wanted to bring you some clothing items, it would be preferable that they would be at least have been washed
Yes.
and cleaned, because
Washed and folded, blankets, coats, hats, mittens, boots.
things like that, but at least be respectful and bring in clean items.
Yes, clean, preferably not with garage sale stickers on them.
Okay. I've been involved in some services at your facility, and I'm very impressed with, you have a room, a whole wall with the different veterans things under the flags. Is that from your military service or just respect in general?
That's for respect in general.
But your service didn't hurt.
No.
Okay, if a family member of a veteran is watching, and the veteran is declining health, who would you recommend that they get in contact with prior to the veteran's passing? Like the veteran service officers, or?
Yes, you can start some of that paperwork ahead of time. You can stop into the funeral home. You can see what they qualify for, how many years of service. Some people you can check. You can also go to the courthouse, the second floor there. There's a service there, the Veterans Affairs Service. There's stuff on the websites. They can stop in the funeral home. We have a giant binder. We also help people get buried in Arlington National Cemetery every year. We work with Gretchen through King Cemetery in Toma.
So there's a lot of things family members should be doing prior to the veteran passing, because once they pass, the clock is almost at midnight.
Yes, it's always easier. It takes some of the stress off if you pre-plan and come in and talk about some of the things that people can get ahead of time.
Because the day of the service is kind of like too late.
Yes, some people, I mean, with a casket, you can have your flag draped, you can have it folded. There's so many options with that. You can have active duty, you can have the VFW, you can have the American Legion, depending on which organization your loved one was a member of.
So it's kind of important that, like it or not, it's
The
something-
hardest thing to find is a copy of their DD-214.
And the government doesn't print those every 2 minutes, do they?
No, they're kind of hard to find, and you know where you keep that when you're in the service. You usually know when you're out, but then trying to find that again is hard. It's hard enough for people to find their birth certificates and their driver's license and their social security cards, but that's, you know, it's that special piece of paper that'll help us with their social security number that gives us those important dates of active duty, where they went to basic training, how many years of active duty they had, if they had any medals or got any accommodations. It's all on that sheet so that the family can know.
At one time, it was really promoted to take the DD-214 to the county seat, to the courthouse, for it to be registered. Do people still do that? Are you aware of, or is that kind of something that's fallen by the wayside?
That I don't know.
I know that when I got out, they said, take this to the county and get it registered, and then it's there forever, so it makes it easier for the family
Families.
to get it. Sometimes veterans also qualify for headstones or plaques,
Yes.
and that is not through your business. They have to go another direction for that, correct?
You can take the paperwork to the courthouse and get that, but we will gladly help you contact the cemetery to find out if you can put that bronze marker on the back of your headstone or a foot marker, and your spouse is also entitled to one of those matching bronze markers as well.
So, even, you said spouses. Being a veteran, my spouse would also qualify for
Yes.
no matter how much time you were in service.
That all depends. That's all that stuff that you have to look into ahead of time.
Okay, so you highly recommend,
Yes.
even a person that is not in failing health, it wouldn't be the worst idea to come in and see you guys.
No.
Because if something happens, the family's gonna be pretty emotional, and
Yes.
I suppose it's very rare when somebody comes in and says, okay, Bill's died, let's go.
Because a lot of veterans, believe it or not, some are very proud of their service, some are very shy and quiet about it, depending on what war they fought in or what happened to them during the service. Some just want a flag. They don't want the full military honors. Some want everything. It just depends on that particular person and what they experience themselves.
Okay, I don't know if you can answer this question or not, but we're gonna give it a try. I know there's a burial amount that the VA gives towards the burial, and it's pretty minimal. It was like $200 and some or something like that. Are you aware of?
You mean for Social Security, or?
Social Security, I think the VA had some too, or just Social Security?
It all depends on if you pass away during wartime or not. See, that's all in that binder.
Okay. So highly recommended people come in ahead of time.
Yes.
Makes it a lot easier, especially for their surviving family members. Okay. Roxanne, anything else that you'd like to talk about, service-wise, veteran funeral-wise, or anything that you feel that people should be aware of?
That I'm very proud of veterans. I'm proud to be a veteran. I always think it's special when they come in, when they have military honors. Sometimes the families don't know what their loved ones want, so again, I feel that it's very important to talk about pre-planning with your family members, even if they're not a veteran. But if they are a veteran, to find out exactly what what that veteran wants as far as wishes before the military part.
So that should be part of a legal process that would assume that.
Yep.
Okay. Roxanne, thank you so much for
Yep.
coming in, and thank you for your service.